what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it. Got to talk LSU, South Carolina. I've already done full film review. Watched it last night, about 3.5 hours. And I got to say this. I feel badly. Look, when I'm at Whiskey and Wine and I do these shows, first off, part of the show is just absurdist comedy, right? So we're going to end up in absurd places no matter what. It's very raw. It's very surface level because we're riding with the flow of the game. We're cheering. Yeah. We're high-fiving. It's not very analytical. And so while, we were celebrating that win. We emerged ecstatic, very happy. One thing that I was kind of hammering is that at the end of the day, though, LSU was lucky to win this game. And coming out of film, that's not untrue. You had breaks go your way. But what I feel a bit guilty about is I feel like I may have misled people or maybe I've been misconstrued or I've misconstrued other people, right? Like
you gave disconcerting signals?
Yes, in that I just look, luck is a part of anything. Luck, having a couple breaks go your way does not take away from what was a very tough, very mentally tough, very physically tough, and very gritty comeback. You spotted them 17 in that environment, and you came back to win. Do you know how mind-blowingly hard that is? And it's like, yeah, Sellers goes down. Okay, true. But you caused it with a great pass rush. It wasn't anything cheap. It wasn't anything nasty. It's a bit unlucky.
The quarterback that came in, though, we've seen him before do good things against LSU, and that's why you go get a Robbie Ashford, is because if that happens, so yes, it's unfortunate for them that their quarterback goes down. They got a guy who's basically got a full season starting in the SEC.
Yeah, and what did you do after that? You shut their ass down completely. Outside of the Rocket Sanders touchdown that second half, you shut them down. So you had a little bit of luck, but what is luck? Luck can open doors. Luck can give you opportunities, but you have to take advantage. You have to step through. So the defense did that. You get a break, in my opinion, on the roughing call, on the INT. I mean, technically a penalty, yes. Could have been
it's just like a blindside block. Which again, sure. I'm with you. Like
but
LSU got a blindside block. I'm like, man, that was my favorite thing to do back in the day.
And it's like you could have not thrown the flag. It probably wouldn't have caused any drama, really. But even it's a break where like he could have just not hit him. You know, like Kennard could have just laid off, and then you're cooked. But so we'll say a break there. But the defense still had to respond, come over the stop. The offense still had to get the ball back with 3 minutes, 30 seconds left and needing a touchdown drive and go down the field and make it happen. And so I emerge out of this game, Jake. Going into it, I was asking the question, who is this team? Are they more the very solid team that is flawed but plays tough and with good responsibility? Are they more that team that I saw against USC? Are they more the team against Nichols? And I firmly feel it's more of the former. Yes, this team is limited personnel-wise in areas. It's not an effort issue. Okay, the interior D-line, the secondary, they're fighting their ass off, but they are limited. But in my opinion, it's a well-coached team, both sides of the ball. They're doing a good job of scheming things up. It is not a disaster. And it's not to say that it's perfect. I mean, it was a 17-0 lead. One thing that I found very impressive in this game is the adjustments that were made. And I was talking to Kublik called me last night and we were kind of comparing notes.
Call you at 10 o'clock too?
Yeah.
I'm like, Cole, I'm asleep,
Yeah,
brother.
we were comparing notes, and I was like, oh, I'm actually watching the film right now. What you got? And so one thing, Jake, that was very apparent offensively Saturday is South Carolina came in with a better game plan on these gap scheme runs, and it had LSU very confused. Where every time LSU was blocking down gap scheme, they were using a ton of movement up front so that guys couldn't climb to the second level, and a linebacker, as soon as he saw shoulders turn, they were in the gap.
Yep.
So you come out and you lose the initial mental battle where they've game planned a good plan against you. And then they found something at the end of the first half, and they did it almost exclusively the second half, and it worked to perfection where they said, F it, we're zoning it. We're basically going to duck walk. We're going to let them move, and we're going to sort. And in doing so, the very thing that made South Carolina so strong in the first half became their biggest weakness, because all of a sudden they're trying to shoot gaps and they're leaving holes wide open. And Caden Durham did a great job reading them. Josh Williams actually had a pretty underrated game when it came to having the ball in his hand.
Yeah.
We'll get to pass pro. Pass pro was bad more from an MA standpoint the majority of the day than an actually getting beat standpoint.
With the running backs, too. They had a lot of MAs.
Yes. So the point of all of this is to say it is not a disaster. That's a hell of a win. There was a lot of courage, a lot of great plays. And yes, you had a bit of luck, but trust me when I say that luck will flip. Like, you're going to be on the other side of these things at some points this season. You still have to take advantage. They did. Hell of a win from the Tigers.
Yeah, and some of the things that I've seen out there are wild, surprising to me. Was it like the perfect game by LSU? No, you're down 17-0. We get that. There's things that went wrong in this game. But I was in the building, okay? You go to a place that hasn't had college game day in 10 years, a decade, a place that already has a great environment, a good crowd, right? They were there at 4:30 in the morning, about 15 rows deep, waiting to get into college game day. The crowd was in it for the entire time, right? You play a team that just went on the road and beat Kentucky 35-6. Georgia goes into that same building and wins 13-12, okay? So you thinking you know what South Carolina is just, based off who they've always been, well, that could be a mistake as well. That team's got pros on the defensive side of the football. Offensively, maybe a couple, maybe. Defensively, they've got Sunday players.
Yeah.
You got down 17-0 in a crazy environment, one that never stopped. Not for 1 second did it go away. And you found a way to win? I don't care how it happened. I don't care how lucky or the ball bounced your way, the calls went your way. I could not care less. You gained over 400 yards of total offense. Like, there was things you did really well.
That's crazy.
In
That's
this
a great
game.
defense, guys. That front seven's maybe the best in the SEC. Like, it's close.
Like in the totality of it.
Yes.
I they're up there for sure.
The D-line, for sure. If you just want to highlight the D-line, that might be the best in the SEC.
And you find a way to win that game. And there was so many times you could have just packed it in.
Yeah.
That is a gritty performance. And it sounds a little spoiled when you say something like, how can we be happy about that win? How can you be happy? It's in the SEC. And Taylor pointed this out. It's your quarterback's first time on the road in the SEC. And he throws for 285 and 2 scores and leads you on a game-winning drive with some incredible throws. It was not perfect by any means, but you went into a very hostile environment, got down by 3 scores, and found a way. You can clean stuff up from that, and it's easier when you win than if you lose. That was a hell of a fight.
I agree. Like I said, man, I was actually kind of shocked at how heroic I felt about, like, how many heroic, courageous, tough moments there were on that film coming out of it. I'm shocked by the fact, Jake, this sounds crazy. It was a good defensive game. How do you give up that many points? And I'm sitting here and saying you had a good defensive game. Because, first off, yes, the big plays are the root of all evil. The 75-yard touchdown run, the 62-yard touchdown run, that's what changes everything. Like, that's how I can sit here and say I thought on a play-to-play basis it was actually a really good performance, and yet You give up that amount of points, it's because of the two big plays. Otherwise, I see a defense, Jake, that was put in a lot of bad situations. So I would say this, 3 bad moments. The first drive, they came out and they just dominated you, and that kind of set the tone for what we thought about the defense the rest of the game. Even though it wasn't actually indicative of how the defense played, that set the tone. The first drive, then you have 2 big plays. Those are the 3 moments. Outside of that, you're dealing with short fields, bad changes of possession, offense failing to take advantage. The offense gave you nothing in the beginning. Nothing. And you gave them turnovers. You still made plays to hold the rope, to hold the line, and give them time. Like Jake said, a young quarterback, like Taylor said, a young quarterback making his first SEC road start. The defense held the line, gave the offense time to find themselves, and then in the second half, the defense actually took over. And
did really well in the game-changing moments.
Yes.
Did really well. Again, not even close to being perfect. And you're right. There was plays where, like the Rocket Sanders touchdown, when you got Gabe Rutherford shooting inside. Why do you have him shooting inside? Because you want to spill it to Whit Weeks. Whit got called peeking on the motion, got too far inside, couldn't come back, right? Those are things that are obvious on the tape. Now, I thought Whit was all over the place. He had 11 tackles, but that was on him, and he'll tell you that. There's still moments like that the play call is giving you what you want. You want that ball to bounce to the linebacker. That's why you shoot Gabe Rutherford in. And you got to have a linebacker there. Certainly things to clean up. But in those game-changing moments, whenever they have the momentum, they get the ball back with what looks like a for sure touchdown, and you hold them to 3. That is a big win for a defense.
And there were a lot of those moments. I mean, I'll run through my notes. We'll try to find them all. But I mean, even it's time and time again. I mean, the third down play call for Baker Perkins and Sage Ryan in the first half to force the fumble after you finally got some momentum, made it 17-7. Now the offense doesn't quite come through. I think you settled for a field goal there. How about the fumbled snap at the end of the game, which honestly should have ended the game?
Oh,
for the offense, for the team, almost the fumbled snap. You come back, you stop South Carolina. Then the offense goes 3 and out.
Yeah.
And you stop him again. You force the turnover, which still doesn't work out because then you throw the pick. And yet the defense held. So again, the defense was put in a lot of bad situations. They held strong. I cannot say enough, Jake. I can't get out of this first segment if we're talking defense without talking about the edge defenders.
Because the story of the game going into it was South Carolina's edge defenders, and they played well.
Those guys are awesome. We'll get to them.
But it was your edge defenders, T-Bob, like you're about to talk about, that showed up.
Savion Jones continues to fight his ass off. Great arm extension, doing everything he can. Paris Shan had a couple of really nice moments. He's got to play the interior. He's got to play on the edge. But Jake, the guy that just showed up time and time again on this film was Braden Swinson.
Multiple ways.
I mean, in every way that you can. Probably had about 5 pressures the first half, including the pick to Zai. Oh, he had the sack He had the sack that ended the half. It was him that knocked Sellers out the game. It was him that had the forced fumble at the end. He came up with another huge sack on the final drive.
You know what he was also really good in? Coverage.
I saw him. He did drop back a couple times.
He dropped like 3 times and was in the perfect position for the quarterback to have to really kind of think about it and kind of pump a little bit, and end up being negative plays for South Carolina. So even in coverage 3 times, he was pretty good.
Well, and what's funny is it's not funny. It's just a way of bridging the gap in my brain. What's interesting to me, or what I loved, that's what I want to say. What I love raw stats, but again, it was the effort that I saw out of Swinson and Savion Jones, and really, look, the whole team. The whole team gives effort. Like the interior D-line, I mean, you got Ahmad Bro out there fighting his ass off. He's got good arm extension. You can tell this is a much better coached group than they were across the board last season. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.